Welcome, welcome. Thank you all for joining this afternoon slash evening slash morning, depending on where you are in the world. We are going to be talking today about communicating your curiosities, and I am your presenter, Myisha Battle. I am a clinical sexologist, and I'm a sex and dating coach. I'm a podcast host, and I'm an author of this book. Oh, Palace, you're gonna have to help me with, navigating through the slides, I think. I'm clicking, but they're not moving. Oh, maybe I gotta go over here. There we go, figured it out. Okay. This is my book. This is supposed to be fun, how to find joy in hooking up, settling down, and everything in between. And I wrote this book because I work with clients to help them follow their curiosity to make dating more fun. And I wanted to expand my reach and help my readers to dig into what they really want from dating, no matter what that is, no matter who they are, no matter if it feels really, really off the wall and super, super niche or really general and they just feel like they need some support in putting those general ideas into words. And that's what we're going to be focusing on today. It's going to be a really interactive session, and I hope you all feel comfortable sharing along the way and giving your thoughts to the process as we work through creating a bio, which can be a place in dating where you can have an impact communicating your curiosities. It doesn't end there, but it can start there for sure. And I think it's a skill and a way to kind of quickly distill down what you're curious about, who you are, what you want from this process that you can then translate into other areas of relationship building. So, this is just the first step along the way. And I know that for me personally, when I was dating, it felt like I was just going out on this journey alone. And it felt kind of scary, but it was also exciting. And I see this in my clients too. It's a mix, right? And I think sometimes we feel more of one than the other. So for those of you who are comfortable sharing, pop into the chat. Does dating feel more scary or exciting? Just send a one over for scary, two for exciting. If you want to pop some responses in the chat. One for scary, two for exciting. Do we have chat enabled for everybody? Okay, so it looks like we need to investigate the chat function and make sure that you all can put your comments in there as we're going through. Okay. Ooh. This might be a little less interactive than we wanted it to be, but we'll see what we can do. Yeah, I'll just keep talking about my general thoughts and feelings about the process of dating while we get the chat up and running. So when I work with clients, usually they come to me with a certain amount of fear. So if that is what you're feeling right now, you aren't alone. But dating has become this solo process, right? You decide when you're ready to start dating, and you're pretty much doing it by yourself. Maybe talking to your friends and family about your process along the way, but I know that for a lot of us, when sex is a priority or focus of our dating life, we may not be as open to talking to people in our community about what it is that we're looking for. That can feel very private and more tender. So, in sessions with clients, I help them to get more confidence in their ability to communicate what they want sexually. And as I mentioned before, sometimes that is just starting with the bio and giving words, giving language to what their curiosities and desires are. And sometimes it's the practice of being in dialogue with me in session and actually having to verbalize that to another human being. That practice can make people feel less alone. And that practice is also one that can build the skill of sexual communication that can be useful down the line when you're in a partnership and you have to communicate your curiosities or desires to a partner or partners, whether generally or in the moment, giving feedback. So, yeah, just checking in. Are we making any headway with the chat? Okay. So, we may not have chat enabled. I'm just gonna roll through, but I would love for everyone to take notes as we're getting through the content because I don't want you to feel alone. I want you to feel like this is a process that you're doing in community, even though we may not be able to chat with each other for the duration of the workshop today. Hopefully, by the end, we'll have some capability to share. And if not, I'm definitely going to encourage you to share with somebody in your social circle so that we can keep this process going. What we're going to cover today is, getting the lay of the land of what to include in a bio that will convey your curiosities. And we're not just going to talk about what you should be saying. We're going to talk about how you should be saying it, and that's not going to be a blanket approach for every single person here. There are nuances to how you can express what you're curious about sexually, and you can do that in many subtle ways or many overt ways. And then as we, look at all of the things that can be components of the bio, we then want to put those together so that you feel like you can put something together, something short, you can always expand it later, but it's going to have these key components in it so that you can move forward confidently with a bio that you feel good about for now. My goal is to make sure that we don't have as many profiles out there that are just like, I hate writing profiles. I don't like talking about myself. I don't know why I'm here. My friend told me to join. We want fewer of those profiles and we want more profiles of the good stuff, what you're here for, who you are, and what you want. That's a big missed opportunity for a lot of my clients when they come to me and show me their dating profiles, and I've seen a lot. They miss that opportunity to really talk about what they want from the process. And dating these days, you can ask for a lot. You can be as specific or general as you want. So I think it's important to have a few guidelines along the way and then to actively put something together. And then, of course, if we have that chat feature enabled by the end, we're going to share and open it up for Q&A. All right, let's get started. So as you're embarking on this journey, as with any journey, the question is, do you know where you're going? you know, um, for some people, the answer is yes. You know exactly where you're going because you're searching for something specific, meaning you have an idea about what your curiosities are. This might mean you know that you're looking for a partner or partners. You know you're looking for short term fun. You know you're looking for sex of some kind. You know you're looking for a one off experience, and that might be very detailed It might be something that you're still mulling over or coming to, but you you know this is what you're focused on, right? There are going to be those of you though who are like, I don't know where I'm going. This is all new to me, or I haven't been dating in a while, or haven't been putting sex as a priority in my dating life before, so I don't know how to do this. And for you, I say, welcome. It's okay. I think we're getting to a point now in our culture where it's okay to say, I don't know. And I think that that's even true in our dating lives, right? It's okay to not know. And there are ways to express that you don't know that don't close you off. So I think that's something to think about, is that when people think, well, if I say I don't know, like people are going to just skip my profile. And that might be true for some people who are like, yeah, I'm very clear about what I want. And if this person doesn't know, that's not appealing to me. But there are other people who are like, I don't know either. And I'm open. I'm staying open to the possibilities of connection. I'm also exploring kink. I'm also embarking on opening my relationship or exploring non monogamy for the first time. And so I really can't say what it is that my end goal is here yet, but I am wanting to connect so that I can build up more of a picture of what I want. So I want to validate each perspective. So take a note right now if you are searching or exploring. And if you are searching for a specific thing, I want you to take a moment to write out, just generally, it doesn't have to be perfect words right now, what you are searching for. If you have a kind of inkling of what you want the results of your dating to be, put that down in writing and just give it a few words. If you're exploring, I want you to come up with some words that might be related to some of the words here. You might say, hey, I'm new here. I'm open to possibilities. Or I'm currently exploring my submissive side. Or my partner and I have decided to date other people. Or we've opened our relationship and are dating together, right? So, whatever the case may be, if you're exploring, give some words to that. And I'll give just a moment for people to take some notes in a notes app or jotting it down pen and paper style. Okay. So now that you know whether or not your destination is known or unknown, we're also going to look at how we want to convey what it is that we're looking for. For some of you, thinking about communicating a sexual curiosity feels really scary, right? And you may feel less comfortable divulging the exact specific details of that. That's okay. For many people, privacy is a concern, or you're just more of a reserved person. You wouldn't necessarily use explicit language, even if you were talking about something related to sex. So that's okay. Knowing that and embracing that is fine. That's going to definitely impact the tone of your profile and how you convey what it is that you're looking for. And yes, there is a way to imply something sexual that you're looking for without explicitly saying it. And there are those of you who are like, explicit is for me. I want to tell all the details. It's actually quite important that I give all the details because I'm not trying to waste my time with people who aren't on board with this. Because I have a plan. Even if you don't have a plan, if you just really enjoy using that type of language to describe what you want, great. Because other people are going to gravitate towards that who also like that style, right? There are varying degrees of this too. There are super, super explicit people, and that may work for you, and you may have a pool of daters who are like, yes, sign me up, tell me more. Um, and then there are going to be people that that's not for, and that's okay. We want people to align themselves with partners that are going to be the best for them. Again, no matter what you're looking for. And so the style of language that you use is also a way to indicate what you're about, right? So take a minute to think about your own personal comfort level with explicit language. Are you someone who is more on the discreet side of things, or are you someone who enjoys being more explicit? And just take a quick note of which one you fall under. Okay. Now we're getting into the bio content. Okay, what do you want to say about yourself? And specifically, how you want to be in relation with other people. For instance, starting at the top here, what's the relationship structure that you're working within? Are you looking for something monogamous? Are you exploring non monogamy, or are you a non monogamous dater? Related to that is solo poly, giving words to where you're at and the type of relationship structure that you ideally would like, friends with benefits, situationships, hookups, whatever it is. I want you to name that. And you might say, well, when I set up my profile, I had to check these off, et cetera, which is fine. But trust me, that's for the algorithmic purposes of matching you with people. But you want to give nuance to this because monogamy means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Non monogamy means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So you could be a relationship anarchist, you could be a kitchen table, ethical non monogamy partner. So again, I want you to really think about the specifics of the relationship structure. And that might mean talking a lot more in detail about how you envision that looking for you. So, monogamy or long term partnership could look like, hey, I want what my parents have. They've been married for 30 years and still get gooey eyed when they look at each other, or I want a partner to travel the world with and conquer the world with, right? That's suggested language. You may think about the ways in which your monogamy or your non-monogamy looks and feels. And again, if you haven't had these experiences before, don't worry about it. It's not about trying to say it has to be this way, but it's what you're curious about. It's what you're curious about building. And you need someone who is also curious about the things that you're interested in and can get on board with your vision because it's their vision too. So these words will act as a sort of magnet for the people who are interested in building the type of relationship that you're looking for, whether that's something that involves commitment or not. So the same thing for situationships and hookups. There's a lot of people for whom situationships would work better than any other type of relationship structure that they have. Um, so yeah, I'm getting a note here. So we're going to recap a little bit for folks that have joined in, and I want to give you an overview of where we're at. We are talking about the process of following your curiosities and how sharing them, communicating them in the bio is a really helpful first step in getting your curiosities met. Oh, and I'm seeing some comments coming through. Yay. Okay, great. So, yeah, for those of you who are just joining, we did have some technical difficulties. We are walking through, and I'm just going to back up for those of you who are just able to join us. We're walking through how to create a bio that communicates your curiosities. Um, we're getting the lay of the land here because I want people to feel less alone in this process. And what I'm here to give you are some tools that will actually result in words that then you can put into your bio And that, again, is this first step to communicating your curiosities with people that you want to date, whether that's in an app based or online dating environment or even in person as people are, going out, you're meeting people, you might have to share, hey, this is what I'm looking for. Um, so now that we have chat enabled, I'm so excited because we're going to be able to get some real time feedback. Uh, I first ask, is your destination known? And so, just as a quick test, since we have the chat up, I'm going to ask you if to put a one in the chat if you know what you're looking for right off the bat, and a two if you're more in a I don't know exploratory phase. So, one, hey, I know what I'm curious about. I just need some words to put to it. Or two, I'm exploring. I'm open to possibilities right now. Okay, so we've got a couple ones coming through. Great. A lot of people say, I know what I want. Any twos out there? Don't be shy. Ah, there we go. Amazing. Okay. So in your notes app or on pen and paper, if you want to be old school. Ooh, I got a one and a two. Okay. So we're going to help you to figure this out. Um, we're also going to put some language to this. So take a moment to not just write down that you're searching or exploring, but come up with some language that you think would be helpful. So, for instance, I've given uh, some sample language here. I'm looking for a partner or partners, looking for short-term fun, sex, one-off experience. This does not have to be perfect. If you know it's like an actual thing, like a threesome or having somebody paint your entire body in glitter and having a roll around, who knows, whatever that is. If it's very specific, go ahead and jot it down. And if you're exploring, I also want you to put some language to this. If you're not sure what you want, maybe saying that you are open to possibilities, that you are exploring kink, that you're open to a relationship, but you want to see how things go. So whatever is resonating for you, I want you to just get some quick language around that. Great. So next we talked about language style. Some people are more comfortable with being explicit than others. So just put a quick note in the chat. One, for you're comfortable with explicit language. Two, you are not. So you're more on the discreet side. And yeah, I'm happy. I'm full of suggestions here. Someone says they want the glitter thing now that they know about it. Great, put it down. Okay, one is you like explicit language and you're comfortable using it. Two is you're more reserved. You're not as comfortable with it. Okay, we've got a lot of people who know what they want and they're comfortable with explicit language. At least that's what's coming through in the chat right now. So this should be relatively easy for you to come up with a good bio that communicates your curiosities. Okay, I got a couple twos coming through that there are people who are maybe more discreet, less comfortable with explicit language, maybe privacy is a concern, or you're just more reserved. Okay, so note that down in your notes that's the approach that you're going to take, a more explicit one versus a more discreet one. Now we're getting to the kind of meat and potatoes, the bio content. And what I want you to think about here is like, what are the contours of this information that, yes, you gave the app when you signed up? Most likely you let them know the relationship structures you were open to, the identities that you have, any kinks that you might be interested in. And we're going to talk about that magical fourth thing later. But I want you to think about your style of this. So, what is your style of monogamy or non monogamy? What are the contours of that? Are you single and dating non monogamously? Are you partnered and dating non monogamously? Are you dating together? Are you looking for a specific type of relationship or friendship with benefits, a situationship, looking just for hookups? What kind of hookups? Are they loving, tender hookups? Those are possible. Or are they fleeting, passionate, maybe a little on the risky side type of hookups? This is really important to help people to see who you are and give a little bit more depth to what you said you were about in your matching criteria, right? Because that's what we all have to fill out when we set up a profile. But reiterating it in the profile can be really helpful because you go through and you match with people and then you forget who they are. And then you have to go back and read what they're about. And sometimes what they say about themselves is really, really helpful. It seems like maybe we've lost audio. Can somebody send a little wave emoji if you can hear me? Or just say, yes, you can hear me? Okay. Sounds like that might be a one-off issue potentially. Okay, great. So moving on to the rest of the bio content. Thank you so much for confirming for me. Identities, again, straight, but like, what are your intentions, sir or ma'am? What are we about? There are many, many different kinds of hetero people. There are many, many different kinds of LGBTQIA plus people, giving some ideas of what that looks and feels like for you. Gender identity, again, is an area where you can sort of flesh out or use words that allow people to understand more about you specifically. And then, of course, ability, sharing any disabilities or neurodivergence. Now, this is something that people get quite nervous about, and rightly so. This is not something that necessarily has to go in your bio. Some people feel comfortable with that information being out there, and that's true about gender presentation too. But if you feel comfortable sharing that, I've seen profiles where people identify as neurospicy, which kind of gives this conveyance that there's a level of pride in their difference, and I really respect and honor that when I see that. So if that's how you feel, there's a really, I think, great opportunity to share that with people so they know a bit more about you. And then we get into kink. So there's many different flavors of kink. There are many different ways to embody your kinkiness, be that through BDSM. Where do you identify? Do you see yourself as more of a dominant or a submissive? Do you see yourself as more of a sadist or a masochist? Are you into submission? Are you into impact play, sensory play? There's a whole world of this out there. And if you don't know, that's okay too. Again, you're probably somebody who's in the exploratory phase. And so just simply saying, like, I'm here to explore BDSM. I'm not quite sure what I'm into. I just know that power dynamics are a turn on, right? That could be something that you just completely steal from me. I'm giving you full permission to do so. I think that that can be very, very helpful for people to see you and either meet you there and provide some guidance, or be able to opt out and say, this person maybe is a little bit too green for me to take on as a partner. I'm looking for something that's pretty specific. So you can see why this will be really helpful, not just to drop in your interest sections or, tag as something that you're interested in, but something that really helps people understand where you're coming from in terms of your past experience with this, or where you want to go in your exploration. Somebody might be interested in rope work and needs a buddy for that, right? To do it safely. This is a space in which you can express that. And then we wanted to leave a little space for like a magical fourth thing that's important to you that reflects a specific need or desire or identity, and this ties into more of the like relational part of you. How do you like to be in relationship dynamics? Some people might bring up attachment styles here. You might think about uh, different ways in which you like to spend your time with partners. This might be a place to express, although I did list it under identities, like that you have a preference for aromantic connections. So, this is just a way to sort of give permission to think about very broadly, what about you is important for other people to understand in order for them to make an informed decision about whether or not you'd be a good partner match for them. Um, Great. So, have you been taking notes? Has anyone come up with maybe a line or two about themselves yet? I would love to see that in the chat if you've come up with just like a one liner, anything that is jumping out at you as absolutely necessary for people to know about you that you want to include in your bio. Ooh, okay. Thanks, Ofer. Let's hear what you have to say. Or rather, here, I'll read it out. Oh, and while you're submitting that, we got someone else, Josh. Um, I'm romantically monogamous, but sexually non monogamous. I love that clarification. So, 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 so helpful. Thank you, Josh, for submitting that. I think that's brilliant. It should definitely go in your profile if it's not already there. Oh, Ofer got cut off. Too many characters. Okay. Um, yeah, these are limited chat features. So, um, yeah. Anybody else have a quick line or two? Looking for partners in crime. I hope not. Not really. Looking for co-creators of intense erotic adventures. Okay, that second part's gonna do well, I think. Yeah. So, these are not super explicit. I don't know who said, I'm explicit versus not, but hey, I like these. I like these a lot. Okay. We're gonna move on to what I think is something that gets left out too. And these are unique identifiers that make you you. They're pieces of you that someone should know if they're going to connect with you, like really, truly, right? Something that's like so important to you that if people don't talk to you about it, it's like, ugh, really frustrating, or people don't want to experience something the way that you experience it. And this is thinking more non sexually, right? But this also gives you and the people that you match with more data about what it is that you want from the process of dating. So, this is something non sexual that you think is important, like your zodiac sign. That's a really common one. Hobbies that you spend a lot of time doing, right? That somebody is probably going to either need to be as interested in or just like marginally interested in, but like understands the value of it, right? This is where you might mention your career or other interests that you have, your core values. And again, these can be modifiers to the things that we talked about in the last section. These could be like, I really value spending time with my family and I'm looking for additional partners to share my life with, right? So it could be something as simple as that. Um, it could also be expectations. It can be a place for expectation setting, rather. So letting people know, "Hey, look, I'm bad at small talk, but I'm great at cunnilingus. I don't know. You can say what you want, but that was just an example, hopefully to get some laughs, even though I can't hear it. And another one is I'm slow to respond, but will get back to you. These are for my busy folks out there because no one likes to be left hanging. We all have the experience of matching with someone and it takes a while to know if they like you back, right? We're all in that same boat when we're dating, especially using the apps. So just letting people know, like, hey, I'm not completely checked out from this if you don't hear from me when we match, but I'm somebody who'll, check occasionally, right? So these are things that I think are great to have in the bio, just to let people know who they're working with, right? And then if at all possible, it feels organic and there's something that you want to invite people to do or to say, an invitation to connect is always a great way to round out a bio section. Ask me about my love of X. I get turned on when whatever. Tell me how you like to blank, right? These are great for having people engage immediately with you and have something that's just kind of dangling there for them to pick up. Hopefully, with all of the details that you've already created, there's going to be a ton of information there for people to pick up on and have really productive conversations with you about your curiosities and about who you are. But sometimes that little extra invitation at the end can be a little bit more of a nudge, especially if it's something unique and it's a shared interest. I've seen that work a lot with my clients. One of whom has in her bio asked me what my recent Wikipedia deep dive was about, and she had some good interest with that, and definitely had some people sharing their deep dive Wikipedia searches and comparing notes and processes and stuff like that, which is really fun to see. All right, so anybody come up with anything fun, like a fun identifier? Ooh, and I love that people are continuing to share about their their bio content and then these unique identifiers. So looking for close partners, prefer fewer connections to many shallow ones. I love that. Like when people didn't want to speak about Kendrick versus Drake last weekend. Okay. Yeah, I mean, the problem is that things are so when they're so topical, then they can get lost, right? So I've seen people who have things I don't know how often you update your bio. Maybe it's uh, pretty frequently, but sometimes when things are so topical, they get lost, you know? But I think you're onto something there. I think, like, ask me about, um, something related to Kendrick versus Drake, like, I don't know. I think it's pretty obvious who won, but you might have different opinions. So maybe something like an invitation, like, let's talk about who actually won that rap battle. Like that would be kind of fun. Um, okay. And then I'm looking for allies for sustainable happiness, perhaps Tantra communities. Yes, great. The details. I'm looking for those details. And you're all doing an amazing job. These are all very specific, very unique, and they're giving a lot of information here. So I do have some examples that I put together based on my experience working with some clients and how they've approached it. And I wanted to offer those for those of you who are still struggling to find the words. And I'm not going to leave you hanging when I'm done going over these examples. I want to give space for those who need a little bit of help and encouragement and don't quite know exactly how to say what they want to say. But this may also help in seeing how we can condense these things into just a few short sentences, right? I don't want to overwhelm you and have you think you've got to write 4 paragraphs to be effective here. Although you may want to take some time after this workshop and expand on what you've already come up with, but you don't need to. So we have somebody on the left here who's discreet, they're exploring, and they're kinky. I'm recently divorced, so that's that unique identifier information. and looking for someone to play with. Play is a little bit of a coded term for BDSM. Not super coded, if you know, you know, but also it's not explicitly stating what kind of BDSM or kink she's into. I'm going to call this person she. Short term, casual connections only. So we're getting that reinforcement of what this person is looking for. I'll tell you more when we match. Okay. So this person is definitely more on the private side. And then they say, ask me about my private collections. What? What kind of private collections? That gives me this like, okay, this person's a little mysterious. I want to know more. What are these private collections? Are they sex toys? Are they actual like pieces of art? Either way, I want to know and I'm going to ask, right? So that's how that invitation at the end can really function. Even if you are somebody who is more private, like this is to me still a pretty saucy profile bio. Moving to the middle, we have an explicit searcher. So they know exactly what they want in terms of experience, but they're also new here. So they're new here, they're gender nonconforming, again, identifiers, looking for femme to androgynous partners for group play. So that's pretty explicit too. They're looking for different types of gender expression, and then they're also looking to have that in a group setting. They're not looking for one on one. Great. I don't care what's between your legs as long as you know how to fuck like a champ. That's what I mean by explicit. Okay. Like that, this person is here to they mean business, right? Bonus if you know your way around shibari. So this person is also interested in rope work and they want to invite people who also have that interest into the party, right? Into their group play experience. And then on the right, we have somebody who's discreet. They're using discrete language and they are also identifying as solo poly. Solo poly, sapio, hetero, queen. Okay, there's a lot of information just in that first sentence. Solo poly, they play alone, they date who they want, they're not looking for a primary. Sapiosexual is somebody who's looking for that mental connection first. This person identifies as heterosexual and queen, so you better treat her like one. Looking to meld minds and bodies. Tell me the last time you checked out, tell me the last book you checked out of the library, swoon. Open to short or long term, whatever feels right. So, again, I think that these are examples of saying a lot with a little. And oh, I'm seeing a lot of folks that are coming through with their own shares. And I really appreciate that because that is what we're going to do next. Um, it's sharing time. Uh, for those of you who have just put their shares in the chat, I'm just going to read through those. And then I also want to make space and give time and attention to those who are still struggling. If this all feels really overwhelming, I understand and I want to help you. And we want to help you. Okay. Everybody's here to work on themselves, but we also are here as a community to support each other. So we have Andres who says, I'm a Gemini who loves to play video games and read books. What's your favorite game or book? Okay. So with this one, Andres, I would just add a little bit more specificity. Are there specific types of video games that you like to play and what kind of books do you like to read? And then the invitation, I would say, what's your favorite and whatever that genre is that you like to read? I would love to just sort of invite that conversation to go deeper with that specificity, if that makes sense. So, but yeah, Gemini, happy early birthday. We're in Gemini season now. Okay, Howard has honest and communicative. I don't shy away from feelings. Bless. I revel in feelings and love creating containers to experience them safely. Lovely. Okay. What is here is who you are. And I love that because you're going to definitely appeal to people who are similar. And the fact that you mentioned that you love creating the container means to me that you aren't somebody who's just like spreading those feelings all over the place, which I respect. It implies boundaries. It's giving boundaries. And I like that. Where I would offer is just that information about what you're looking for, which I think actually, Howard, you might have shared that before. Yeah, you were the looking for partners in crime, co-creators of intense erotic adventures. So great. I think you actually have the makings of a really tight, good profile bio. That's awesome. Okay. And then Josh has neurospicy. I'm neurospicy and passionate about liberal politics, video games, and my two cats. Yes. Okay, cat daddy. We are very, very excited for the neurospicy addition to your profile. I love that. And I would love to hear again just some specificity about video games, maybe currently what you're really into. And then two cats. Can we get the names? That might be fun to share, and give people a little bit to think on. Okay, Ofer says, looking for fellow curious queerdos who are open to exploration, kink and non, queer and be still in the process of exploring my identity, and probably will be until the day I'm done with this world. Truth. Yes, all of us, right? I think. I think. Yeah, so this is really, really great. And I think gives a lot of contours to what you are looking for. And then there's additional total nerd, love game nights, and TTRPGs. Talk D&D to me. Yes, love that. What's your favorite character that you've played? Okay, that's a fantastic invitation to someone who is, by essence, if they play D&D, they're part of your community. Like the D&D community is wide and vast and varied, but is unified by their love of character-driven games. So that's going to be really fun. I think these are fantastic. Are there any folks that are struggling that need a little support, a little help, a little guidance? Maybe you have like a piece or two, or maybe you have an idea, but you just don't know how to verbalize that or put that into words just yet. We want to support you. These are all great. So I think taking inspiration too from what you've already seen and heard will be a great step. Even if you don't come up with anything immediately in this session, take what you've heard and sort of let it rattle around and see if anything sticks. Anybody else want to share? If there aren't folks that need support coming up with their bios, anybody want to give us what you've come up with? I'll give a couple more minutes for people to draft and revise and maybe share. Okay. I'm going to read this because this is a common struggle. Ofer. My struggle is that I'm overly verbose with my profile. I'd love any recommendations you have on how to narrow things down and be more concise. Um, just use the things you were able to fit into the chat. Because those long profiles that we see, sometimes they come off very intimidating. You know, that you've got a lot of information that you want to share. And it could be that like writing is your medium. It's the way that you communicate best. And I would put that there. I would say I would leave people with a little mystery, right? Maybe put the things that you've shared in this workshop just limited to that, because I think there's already a lot there that people can latch on to. And I think you can put like, I can be a bit verbose with my words. I don't know if this is something that you also are You're also very chatty too, perhaps, maybe. But if it is something where you do think you just have the trouble like holding back with writing, just letting people know that, hey, they might be getting some long text from you, which some people might really enjoy. Um, and that can build out your mystique a little bit rather than it's a little bit of like show, don't tell, right? You want to kind of show who you are without overly explaining everything. And the same is true for when you're describing what it is that you want, right? We can get really in the weeds and even limit our possibilities by explaining too much of what we want. Someone might read half of it and say, "That's me, that's me. I really like this person." And then they read the other half and they're like, "But that's not me. I guess I won't respond." Right? So that's why you want to really stick to the key points. What's the core? What are the nuggets of things that make you you? What are the core points of what makes, you think someone might be a good partner for you? And I think the things that you've sent through just in the chat today, that's enough. Yeah. Um, Gian says, adventuresome extrovert, seeking good times, japes and larks. Love it. Open to different connections, emphasis on sensory fun. Ooh, okay, yeah, I want to know more, right? So sensory fun could mean a lot of different things. I see what you did there. You're being a little bit discreet, but you're also letting people know that you are adventuresome, that you're not just being coy. That there's something to this that they should probably inquire more about. So I think that's a really great invitation to connect, Gian. Okay. Andres says, I am a disabled person, but I'm unsure how to go about putting that in my bio. Yeah, that again, it's a completely personal choice. Some of my clients have just said, like, you know, disabled femme looking for whatever, like whatever it is. You just say it, right? Some people find that it's helpful, especially if their disability impacts the way that they could potentially have relationships with people, specifically sexual relationships. So they might say, limited mobility, but still know how to please my partner or something like that. You can uh, get to the core of your disability without having to explicitly say like what your disability is, if that makes sense. And do it in a way that makes you feel like it feels good for you to express that. And if it doesn't feel good to express any of this in the bio, you don't have to. Um, that's something that can come up after you match with someone and you're talking about the experiences you want to create with each other. It can also come up after a date or two, especially for folks that have non-visible disabilities. That could just be something that comes up organically as you're planning dates. So it really is up to you in how you approach this. But did the language that I offered help? Was that helpful? I hope so. Okay, thank you. I'm glad. I'm glad. Great. Okay. Anybody else want to share? We have a little bit of time too for questions. Any other questions that people might have about what to put in a bio, how to express your curiosities and what you want from dating? Okay. Yeah. Uh, Here we go. Do you think putting in emojis or pics help a bio? I think if that's how you communicate, that's probably good for people to know and like off the bat. But if you're using it to be, I don't know, I'm going to put it to the group um, because I think sometimes emojis can be overly used and they're kind of like too cutesy and like a thinly veiled attempt at humor that sometimes doesn't always land, right? So I want you to avoid, you know, people seeing that and not taking you seriously, right? But at the same time, someone might appreciate that approach, and you may not. You may be somebody who that is like part of your communication style. That's what I was leading with is like if that's how you communicate, then that can be definitely part of the bio too. I just want it to be effective. I want it to be an effective use of the emoji. And yeah, we have a comment here. I think it's purely dependent on the person who's doing it. They say they've never had a problem with seeing them. I guess because 'cause I've seen them and it just feels excessive, but I think there's a way to do it in which it's communicating what you need to communicate. Just don't rely on that as a way to maybe, like, uh yeah, exactly, Howard. Emojis are like spice. A little goes a long way. You don't wanna profile especially when you're talking about sex, because then that gets into, like it gets a little cheesy when you're using the eggplant emoji and the peach and all of that and the finger, and I don't know, but, sometimes it's really helpful when you have limited character space. So, for instance, there's the emoji for top and the emoji for bottom, and then, there are, like, these new head shaky, no's and the yeses, and that could be kind of fun to incorporate as well. Ofer says, "Agree with Howard's comment, 1 or 2 are fun, maybe more than that feels like too much." At least for me. So yeah, I would say keep it to like either how you personally communicate, like this is just how you would type to a friend, or keep it to like I'm doing this because it's helping me be discreet, but I'm going to like keep it to a minimum. Anybody else? We got time for 1 or 2 more questions before we wrap. I'm really excited for these bios. I'm hoping that what will happen in this group will have a nice little, like, results in the community at large, because I know when I show clients of mine bios, that I think are really good, they get inspired and they feel less uh, insecure about putting their themselves out there. So I hope this has a ripple effect, and people who are reading your bios will be like, "Oh, that's really great. I love that. I'm gonna maybe tweak mine. I'm gonna make things a little better in the world of dating, a little more straightforward, a little more transparent, a little more fun." Okay, we've got one question, and this will be our last for today. How do I describe to a potential partner about having a current partner as I'm poly and want to be able to express that? Yeah, so there are lovely apps like Field, which allow that to be very transparent, but not just Field. There are so many dating apps that have um, these filters where you can identify as partnered and dating, and I think that's really really helpful when you're going out into the world and meeting people organically. I think it's just good form to be transparent about having a partner and expressing to someone who you're potentially flirting with or interested in that you have a partner, but you're having a great time and you do happen to be non-monogamous and you're open to this connection that seems to be forming. So, again, I think we can use the tools of technology and um, the progress that we've made in the dating app space to date in a more ethical way, using these filters and these identifiers within the apps themselves. And I also think that going out into the world and living your life and being you is great, and you'll attract people who are interested in you. Just be sure to communicate with them openly what your situation is. And at this point, I think a lot of people have met someone who's non-monogamous, or they know they're aware that that's a potential, that they could meet someone who is already partnered. And then that's up to them whether they want to opt into dating somebody with a partner. And sometimes people are. So I hope that that's the case for you. All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining today. And I hope that today's workshop helped you to better communicate your curiosities. If you want to follow up with me and let me know how these changes to your bio worked or didn't work, who knows? But I think they're going to work. You can follow up with me at Myisha at myishabattle.com. I'd love to hear from you. Take care.